Hello and welcome to Full Disclosure, a podcast project conceived entirely to let me spend more time with interesting people than I would ever get on the radio. Grace Dent, welcome.
Hello.
Shall we start with adjectives? You are a columnist, which means I have to use words like witty, incisive. When I was on the Express a million years ago, we had a columnist who was waspish, witty and wise.
Who was that?
Peter Torrey, going back a while.
You know, I always wanted to be a columnist from when I was a little girl. Of Jean Rook?
Yes, of course.
Women like that. When I was a little girl, my mum and dad would buy the Mirror, the Sun, they flitted around, but there was invariably one page in that paper and it would be a woman with massive hair and there'd be a small picture, and then underneath she would be pouring forth about life, and I used to think that is the best job in the world. Anne Robinson, for example.
Yes, she did it for a while.
I remember someone told me, God, I must have been at university, that she had, and this may be wrong, Anne, but it sounds like you, that she'd brokered her own deal for a six-figure sum to just give her opinions. And I thought, I want that. I want it so much. And I did have it for a little bit before at the Independent. I did a lot and I think that you can do it for about a year and a half and you go absolutely mad.
You turn into something that you weren't to start with.
I know every respect to all the women that are doing it and that can keep it going. But I think that in this day and age, to wake up at 7 earlier, to wake up at 5 in the morning, see what's trending on X, and then with 20 minutes, try and form your opinion.
A pungent opinion.
A pungent opinion, like a hot take, as I believe the kids call it, and then put it up. And then, you know, in this day and age, it gets stuck up online pretty much unsubbed.
Yes.
None of the spelling mistakes taken out, of which there are many when I write. And then you get that blowback. So, yeah, I'm not a columnist anymore.
It's as if you're withdrawing yourself from consideration for a vacancy that I didn't know existed.
God, I don't.
But be warned, you're not interested.
I absolutely. You know, I think I love writing, and I love, you know, everybody loves that, reaching people through that medium when I'm writing about food. I love writing about restaurants. But yeah, this is why I admire you, James. As we were sitting down, I said to you, James, I said,
you did.
You care too much.
Well, don't say that. It
I
makes me
said you
sound
care.
ridiculous.
I said you care too much. And they're not just days when you fancy coming in and going, today's phone in is about a lovely burger.
I did do that. I did once back in the day do a phone in on whether there was any food that couldn't be improved, any cuisine that couldn't be improved by the addition of cheese. But it was in a different age.
I think the answer to that is quite clearly no.
There isn't, because even Asian cuisine, I mean, Chinese is a bit of a push, but with Indian cuisine, you've got paneer.
Well, and the Koreans do love a bit of fried cheese.
Yeah, so there aren't any, really. You could improve almost anything by the addition of cheese. They used to let me do phone-ins.
And
like
see,
that.
these are the big questions that need
burden
to be
I carry,
answered.
but yes, I know, they are. And if anyone can answer them, it's probably you. That ambition was early. I mean, it might sound like a slightly sort of fanciful, rose-tinted memory, but it really was incredibly early. Your desire to write, but we'll begin even earlier than that in Cumbria, in Curragh.
Yeah.
In a. I mean, what you've talked about it being a deprived place, but you only have one childhood, and it's the only childhood you know. So you don't know that it's different from other childhoods until you're a little bit older. So what are the early formative memories?
I'm always very careful. If I've ever said that it was deprived, I think I'm talking statistically.
You absolutely are.
And you know why? Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the things that tickles me the most about class. That when I was 5, 6, 7 years old in the 70s in northwest England in Carlisle, I had no idea what posh really was. You know, to me, posh people, the upper classes, would have been in my mind somebody whose dad had a management job at a factory nearby. I had absolutely no idea of the actual the differences. I think, you know, I always say I got to London when I was about 21 and I went to work for Marie Claire, and it was really then that I realised that the kids that were coming in and working in that office, there's a lot of difference when you've got a trust fund and you have been cushioned by that idea that all times that there will be houses falling through the system, falling through, what's the word I'm looking for? Inheritance. Going
The
back
flat
to
is the big thing. Being able to do relatively low-paid work for a while,
yes,
in order to get better paid work, because you didn't have to worry about rent. That was a great divider, because we're very similar ages, and presumably, I think you got started a bit earlier than I did career-wise, but that was the big divider between having to work in a shop and actually being able to just sit around doing work experience or waiting for shifts on a paper or something like
absolutely, 100%. Look, I was actually born in Aldershot. My dad was in the army, and he was in the REME for 25 years. And as he was coming out of the army, just around that point, we went up north to Carlisle, because that was where my mother was from. And there was also a camp there at that point, Hadrian's Camp. So my very earliest memories was a council house that we got through my dad just coming out the forces, and then moving into pebble dashed terraced house in a street that looked like Coronation Street.
How did they meet?
Well, they're both gone now, so I can tell the story quite. And I can tell the truth. My mother looked like Diana Dawes. She was, booby and blonde and glam and wore trouser suits. And my father was a squaddy, a soldier, and had been stationed up in Carlisle for a while. And this is a beautiful love story, but they were both married to other people.
Oh.
So I think it was like eyes across a crowded office. And at some point, them having to run away together, and they had me very, very quickly. So yeah, I mean, look, they were
quite a big deal in the 70s, much bigger deal than it would be now.
Yeah, you're the first person that's ever really said that to me. Absolutely, 100%. I think that my parents met and ran away in haste, and then lamented their decision over the next 50 years, because I think that they got together. There was a hell of a lot of a rumpus, scandal, a lot of fighting when I was a child, a lot of fighting, a lot of drama, but couldn't live with each other, but absolutely couldn't live without each other. I don't think that that's a particularly healthy way to grow up, but I am also very grateful that I had my mum and dad.
They both doted on you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in their own ways. Like I had a very northern working class childhood, so there was no, I was never told I was beautiful. I was never told I was special. I was always told I always think that with my childhood there was more of an attempt to kind of put a cloche on it. I remember kind of going, but I'm going to be famous.
How early would you start thinking that? Well, I mean,
God, James, 7, 8
where
years
did that come from?
From the fact that I lived in a terraced street, and there was no one in my family that was in academia. There was nobody that had been involved with academia, had a career, and I was brought up by pop culture.
Yeah.
And from the earliest part of my life, I looked at the television and I looked at Kenny Everett with Cleo Rokas and Top of the Pops and The Human League and ABC and
God, we are the same age. This is ridiculous.
All these people, and I was brought up by pop culture, and I remember looking at it and thinking, there is a world out there, and I want to go there. Adamant, all these people that were the biggest dandies, and I wanted to be part of that. From an early age, I remember my mum bought me a little record player, and she wanted me to play ABBA with the album that's got Super Trooper on it, the Arrivals, and
yeah, I think so.
And my big brother brought home a copy of Parallel Lines by Blondie, and I was only a little girl, And I remember putting that on and knowing every word to that album. And there was something about those songs and pop music I was like, and then buying Smash Hits.
Oh, yes.
The 80s Smash Hits, going down to the newsagent, and it was bi-monthly, and it arriving and reading every page of what David Hepworth and Mark Ellen were doing, and Tom Hibbert, and looking at the letters page, and thinking, there's this world out there. At the end of our street, there was it sounds like something out of a movie, but the railway track to Carlisle, the railway track from Carlisle to London, the Northwest Line. Anyone that knows Northwest Avanti trains goes from one place to another. That train went really near my house, and I knew that London was 235 miles or something away. It took 7 hours by train back then in the 70s.
Gosh.
And I wanted to go. My big brother, who's 10 years older than me, he went first. And he went to Manor House.
Yeah.
And so when I was 8, he was 18, and he was squatting. He was a punk, and kind of a bit of a new age indie kind of hippie, into animal rights, and very political. So as soon as I could, I was coming down on that train and getting that taste for London, and that was what inspired me. I love Carlisle a hell of a lot more now. I was there the other day.
Sure.
Now I'm in my 50s. I love that place. But when you're 14, all you want to do is be in Soho, potentially snogging John Taylor from Duran Duran. Maybe not you.
Not John.
Was it Andy?
Simon. No. But Kidderminster probably has quite a lot in common in Curragh if you're built that way, and you do.
Yes.
And those But where did... And the cloche, presumably, was Mum and Dad saying, don't be daft. That's not for the likes of us.
Yeah. I think my mother, and she said this until the day that she died about my life, she would look at it all and go, you don't have to make life hard for yourself, don't you? Because my life would have been probably kind of lovely if I'd stayed in Carlisle. Her dream was that I would have made a good marriage with somebody from Carlisle. I could even tell you the guys that I should have married. I won't name them. Whose dads had building firms,
Right.
And we could have had a nice house and done it up and had a breakfast bar.
And that's what she wanted for you.
Yeah.
So she found you a mixture of exotic and confusing.
Yeah, I think that the mistake we sometimes make as working class people when we kind of leave the nest and we start to experience these, what is relatively amazing, going to a private members club and them treating you like gold and wrapping the lemon that they give you with the drink in a piece of muslin and, charging you £19 for some calamari on a plate. All of these things, I think as working class people, we think what we need to do is bring our family and they'll love it. And they don't.
No.
They don't. And they resent you for it because they think... I just, and I think I did spend a good 25 years of my life going, Ma'am, come with me and I'll take you to this hotel. And they're just looking at the prices and going, this isn't for me. I feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And we used to kind of argue quite a lot about it. As I got to near the end of their life and the penny dropped for me, and I hope I don't upset people by saying this, that I realised that, a lot of working class people, they don't want to do these ridiculous fancy things. They just want more money to have fun doing the things that they like to do. So despite becoming, this restaurant critic and having access to everything, my dad's favourite restaurant was Wetherspoons. And to be able to go in somewhere like that and go, it's all on me, because let's face it, it's 35 quid, sure, right? Yeah. Was a big deal. So, but God, this is a shorthand way of saying, this is it's really interesting. Of saying look, me and my mother fought like cat and dog from when I was a child, when I was a teenager. We loved each other fiercely and I nursed her right up until her last dying breath. But yeah, proper northern working class women, me with massive aspirations to leave and do fantastic things, and her saying, "Look, but do you not realise that like Steve, Steve Smith's
Single.
Steve Smith is single. He's only got." Yes, he has got facial tattoos. That's all the rage now. I don't even know why I'm mentioning it. I'm mentioning that like a reference to it being something bad. Everyone's got them. Well, you haven't yet.
The facial tattoos, no, not yet. There's a danger of. I mean, I've obviously from a much more privileged background than you, but not 2 generations previously, and I've got friends who much closer to what you've described than my upbringing was. People feel that you're telling them that their choices are wrong. Mm-hmm. Don't they? They feel that, that you're saying, well, you can't be happy because you're not doing the things that make me happy, and the things that make me happy are bigger and brighter and more expensive. Yeah. And if only you had the money and the access, then your life would be better too. It's actually potentially quite insulting, subconsciously and unintentionally.
I think that, and I think that from the other side, the people that are still in the town that you were from, they feel the same about you. They don't look at you and think you're happy. They look at you and they probably feel kind of belligerent when they hear that you've maybe done an advert for something or got a television show and there's money coming in. But I don't think that they take a scan over your life and go, well, that looks amazing.
That's the weird thing, isn't it? Because I think growing up, if you have that, and when you were talking earlier, it was almost as if domestic life was in black and white and London was in colour, if you want to sort of carry on with the cinematic theme. You think everybody wants what you want. You think, why wouldn't you want to be on top of the pops or at least writing about it? Surely everybody wants this life, but they don't.
I agree. I think that you do think that. And then I think as the years go by, you certainly analyse what was it within you that made you want to run away as quickly and as brightly and as far. And some people were incredibly happy. There was far, far, far cleverer people than me in my class. I wasn't by any means the top of my class. And they didn't run to London to become QCs or directors of business. They stayed in Cumbria, and they've now got grandkids and they're very happy.
But it's not just what was within you that made you want to run away. It's also where the idea came from that you not just might belong in this world, but that you deserved to be in it. I mean, that's quite odd, given what you've told us about your background.
Why did I desert? Yeah. I definitely go back again to pop culture because I have a theory that although there are a lot of working class people that don't adapt and don't want to adapt. They don't want to be at Goldeneye in Jamaica spending £55,000 on a holiday. They don't want that. They don't want to be commissioning their own ridiculous suits from Savile Row, and they don't want to buy a tank and use it as a car and appear on that stage. I do think that sometimes with the working classes, when you give them a little sniff of it, we are the biggest dandies of all. And we're the biggest show-offs. And we believe that there is a place for us. But then, look, I don't think I'm a role model or a massively great example for anybody. I do think that I am, in a lot of ways, a terrible warning. And if anything, just winging it. What
were you like at school then? I mean, did you want to thrive? Did you want to flourish at school?
I was thought of as incredibly clever and top of the class until I was about 10. And reading early and writing early and desperate to watch documentaries and happy sitting watching Alan Wicker and Michael Palin and Monty Python and feeling like I was really clever, but then got to secondary school and I think it was a mixture of hormones and with no disrespect to a lot of people that might listen, the British Northern 80s comprehensive school system. I don't think I fared very well in it. And
did you disappear?
I did well with languages and I did well with English, and I still to this day go, how how, and I'll say this again, how have I not got a maths GCSE?
You
How?
probably shouldn't have said that. I don't think
How?
there's so many jobs you're not allowed to do anymore.
Well, I mean, and I haven't had any of
including
them.
presenting Masterchef.
Completely.
I heard.
As long as they don't ever want me to count the plates, we'll be fine. But yeah, I look, but I was a goth by the time I was 14. Did I disappear? No, I was in full monochrome there. I went through a goth period, and I think that my face and the way I hold myself lends itself to being a goth. I mean, I'm completely in white today.
The
but
anti-goth
I'm
today.
the anti-goth, but I was,
I can see it.
dark, black hair, white face, wanted to look like Susie Sue the whole time. Very into all goth music and indie music.
And I mean, I'm interested in what your mum and dad made of that, but I mean, that's a
furious.
It's a fairly
kicked me out.
Did they?
Yeah.
What about education? Did they see it as because if your mum has got this idea that you should be happy with existing within the parameters of her existence, then presumably there wasn't something which often happens in working class families where education is seen as the ticket out.
Yes.
So they didn't have that. They didn't want you to be thriving at school so that you could get on the train out of Carlisle.
I don't think. Oh God, yeah. God, this is very deep. Thank you for talking about this. This is interesting.
Well, I'm very interested.
Yeah, I think that they coated all of my, especially when I went to do A levels. I think that they potentially couldn't really see why I was going.
Yeah.
And would not have cared if it had gone nowhere. I think that they were worried for me. I think that they knew that. And this was not just my parents. I was in a group of girls, I remember, at that time, and some of them have thrived so amazingly. And I remember their parents arguing with them, going, Newcastle? Why do you want to go to uni in Newcastle? It's 60 miles away. And this is what, it breaks my heart a little bit about now, that idea that university is too expensive and it's a road to nowhere. That's not new. None of that's new. We were hearing that in the 80s.
Except that we lived through the extension of that possibility to parts of the society that it had never been extended to before.
Yeah.
And you fancied some of it, just as a way of getting out, or did education hold other?
I wanted to go to university because I knew that if I went and read English literature somewhere, then it would be handy as some sort of arts degree that I could then take to London for my glorious plan to become Paula Yates.
Okay, so on the telly rather than in print. Or Paula did all of it, really, didn't she?
That's exactly what I mean.
Yes.
I remember by the time I was 14, Paula was raging on the tube, bringing her, sparkle, the glamour, the dresses, the hanging out with the pop stars, hanging out with the rock stars, and then also writing a newspaper column with her big hair at the top of the page, firing out the odd paperback, fiction. Yes, that. And that's
so
what
at 14, if I'd met you and said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" You'd have said Paula Yates.
Paula Yates or Janet Street Porter. What? Janet Street Porter, basically, she's going out with Wanna Seek Sputnik. She's controlling youth TV on BBC Two. She's hanging out with the Pet Shop Boys. She's putting on Dance Nation. She's she's running TV channels. It's just to me, just was like, I want that.
I don't want to ask you this question 20 times.
You can do it. Ask me again.
Well, but where do you think the confidence came from, or the self-belief, or whatever word you prefer, that you could pull that off, that you could at least have a crack at it?
The thing is, I haven't even heard you ask that question the first 5 times. I think
phrased
I've been
it differently.
Talking and that. But you're so clever. That's why you're such a leading light in thought.
My parents sent me to a school like the one they sent me to in the hope that I would develop, that I would be like the people my dad encountered in his career, who never doubted their right to be in these positions. My dad did doubt his right. My dad grew up above a pub in Leeds, and to a degree it worked.
Yeah.
I had that kind of, well, why shouldn't you could say at my school that you were going to be Prime Minister when you grew up and no one would laugh at you or hit you.
Yeah.
But where did you get the idea from that you could waltz into this world and belong?
Can I be very honest?
Please.
One of my aunties, who was every bit as common as me. Every bit as common as me. And I'm going to say this now because God bless you, you're gone now. Married a lord.
Okay, that's taken an unexpected turn.
She literally, are we talking about like the 50s?
Not
maybe?
Bobby Lord, the local
No,
scaffolder.
right. One of my aunties, again, I had a lot of very blonde, radiant, big boobed, like capable-looking, farm-looking women in my family, you know.
Good for the gene pool, old boy.
Just really kind of, you know, women like she was called Grace as well, and she played the accordion, and she was like, you know, a force of nature, and she applied to be a secretary for a lord that had a small home in Cumbria, a small mansion in Cumbria. And she went there. And as my mother always said, well, the job changed its parameters. But like, joking aside, the scandal of that, you know, because I mean, I came along in the 70s and she got a title. Yeah. And she used the title. And can you imagine? She changed her accent. Yeah. As my mother would have said again, I've got all these voices are coming back. She used to go, Grace doesn't model herself on the Queen models herself on her. But there was this idea with my auntie that she had just jumped the fence. Yeah. And everyone in the family, you know, my grandmother had 6 sisters, and so there's a lot of women, a lot of forthright women kicking about, and though it was huge scandal to suddenly have one of our family who had a completely different accent, had access to money, was doing all these crazy amazing things, you know, like buying a racehorse. Yeah. Like doing all, you know, and like we're all living in Carlisle, and I think that really, and you know, she divorced that husband, and she found an equally high status husband. Yeah. Now I'm different in that I have never found a high status husband, but to me, I was fascinated by her, fascinated by this idea that one day you can just suddenly go, no, this is who I am. Yeah. I go to London and I play bridge. That's what she would do.
She was a cloche smasher.
Yeah, she smashed the cloche. She'd go, I'm going down to London, and she used to play bridge with, like, you know, important people. And I mean, this was back in the days when.
So if she could do that, you could do what Paula Yates did, or Janet Street Porter did, or
what? If she could do that in that age, I could do whatever.
It's still extraordinary. I mean,
thank you.
As you mentioned, when you arrive at Marie Claire and everyone around you is sort of gap year and trust fund, but you kind of smashed that cloth.
You know something, when you talk about it, now we've kind of drilled down into it. I do need to kind of express that there are some days where it suddenly comes back and I go, how the hell did I do that? How, and I look at the sliding doors and I think, and I suppose that, you know, sometimes that's why whenever I hear somebody like distill about me, when I hear criticism, and I try to just take it on the chin, but when you hear someone go, oh, she's just another toffee-nosed, blah, blah, and I feel like going, there's a little girl in me that wants to go, but have you seen my teeth? Have you seen my silver fillings? Do you think...
At least they're not black. At least they're not black fillings.
I have got all of my teeth, just some of them are not in the right place.
Well, part of the answer is that you really wanted it, and you asked for it. You never stopped knocking, because I used to be terrified of rejection. You didn't ever seem to have that. You were asking and applying for stuff from very early doors.
Well, I applied and was rejected continually, and I'm I mean, come on, we're about the same age. We still apply and are rejected.
Still putting our hand up
continually. Oh, could I maybe be? Oh no, I'm not getting that. And those younger, more beautiful people are. I think that when I was younger, when I first got to London, I would apply for things, and oh God, I mean, one of my pivotal jobs was the first restaurant column I ever had, the Evening Standard, and it was in ES magazine. It doesn't exist anymore. It was a pull-out Friday magazine, and it was a bit like How to Spend It at the Financial Times. So this was one of my pivotal jobs, and I started it in 2011 or something like that. But what people forget or don't know is that there was a time in the 90s and the early noughties where I used to send article after article in on spec to them and just be ignored. And my face literally didn't fit. And I hope I'm not sounding too pathetic, but
No, not at all.
it's the truth. It didn't fit. And so to suddenly appear and be that columnist, there was a hell of a lot of a build-up of, I mean, almost everything that I do in my life, I've been told no 10 or 15 times first. But you just have to I mean, my advice is to find the person that says yes. You have
And
to
to
find.
do that, you have to ask a lot of people.
I think that your life is governed by finding 4 or 5 people in your professional life that understand you and really understand you. Those people who, with me, because I write, it's finding those editors or producers
Sure.
who get you and let you thrive and trust you and let you just.
But
you must have had this too.
you have to believe that you've got something that other people haven't got. You have to read other people's work and have the confidence to think, I'm a bit better than that.
I mean,
Their face might fit, but my prose is better.
I always knew I was. I always knew I was funny and I could crack people up, and I had like a little bit of. I always knew that I'm not the most beautiful girl, and I'm not the cleverest girl, and I'm not the richest girl. But when I go into a room, I can sometimes raise the frequency a little bit.
And if you can
that's
do that
it.
in print, then you're cooking with gas.
And if I can do it, and I always knew that. Say with the restaurant part of my life, I always knew that from the 90s that if I walked into the office at Marie Claire and people said to me, "Has anybody been to Momo? Should I get a table at Momo?" And I'd go, "I'll tell you about Momo." And I knew that I could then talk for 20 minutes. I go, "This is what it looks like. This is who comes in, blah, blah, blah. Don't sit in that thing," and kind of pour forth in a way that would make people go, "Okay, I'm going to take notice of that." They might not ever go. They might not ever go. They might not ever go to any restaurant around that place or spend any money there, but they would remember. And I feel like that with, what I write about restaurants. It's just like appointment viewing. I don't think anyone's going to those restaurants.
When did that kick in? Because food growing up, unsurprisingly, was not exotic by any stretch of the imagination. I know this language, the language of the salt and shake crisps, and you write beautifully about beige isn't really a fair word because it conveys not enjoying, whereas in fact it was really enjoyable having a Finder's French bread pizza or a crispy pancake or.
There's things that, but I mean, this is the problem that we have with the ultra processed food debate today, going back to the 70s when I was a child. The problem with this food is not that it's disgusting and that we're just eating it because we're just poor and we don't know anything better. The fact is, a Finder's crispy pancake in 1970 filled with minced beef was delicious. Oven chips with plenty of vinegar on, dipped in salad cream, are delicious. Something as exotic in Carlisle as chicken fried rice out of a silver can, Singapore noodles, all of these things, brown, pastries, pies, I didn't eat the rainbow. When I was a child, we didn't eat the rainbow. I didn't. I didn't eat
At the puddle.
We ate the sludge, and it's funny to kind of speak to the food world is very middle class, going into upper class, and it is funny to talk about this because I don't ever want it represented as I starved and just ate these awful things. It's more I want to tell the truth that in the 70s, the basket that my mother took to the tiny supermarket near my house, this is the days before the big Asda's and the big Morrisons arrived on the outskirts of the city. That was these were exciting times. If you got some butterscotch angel delight in a sachet, delicious. Tins of ambrosia rice pudding, all of these things.
I had a cherry brandy lolly the other day. Do you remember them?
Yes.
And it tasted like 1970. It tasted like the summer of '76. When I'm too young to remember the summer of '76. But my mate is an ice cream man, and he said you've got to have one of these. And he's Italian, so he normally brings me back like some olive oil from Italy. Or last time I saw him, he had a big bulb of garlic that he'd grown in his garden. So I was wondering what exotic treat has he got for me now? And it was a cherry bread. You know the ones that taste almost of almonds.
Yes,
absolutely delicious.
Absolutely
so
delicious.
when did the and part of the reason why it's dominated by middle and upper class people is because of the financial exclusion from this world, the simple cost of things.
I think it's that, and I also think that for a long time there was a very set way of looking at who was valid to talk about food. And when the chefs and the food experts often had a very set way of saying it, they went, I am an expert on food because I know, they would say, kind of reading between the lines, I know all about French gastronomy.
Yes.
Because, and I know all about Italian food, because when I was a child, roughly speaking, they would all say, my family went on these fabulous all summer long holidays, and from that I learned to cook at the knee of the local woman that came in to cook, and the nonna, and that's kind of an amalgamation of 50 chef and food people's stories, and that is a lovely story, and we're still in love with that story to today. That somebody will say, oh, the first time I tasted this beautiful seafood was when my friend's father used to dive for them and bring them from the bottom of the ocean. And then when somebody like me would come along and go, look, I lived on toast and toast toppers until I was 17. But for me, this cornucopia of everything that I've learned ever since, I really want to talk about it. But yeah, I think that when I came along into the world, it was not a shock, but to have the confidence to do it, I'm proud of myself.
Well, where did it begin? Because we're going to not gloss over, but I sense there's not a great deal to say about university in Scotland. Doesn't seem to be a massive part of the origin story.
I was there for 4 years.
You got a degree?
I got my degree. I went to a campus university, Stirling University, in the middle of between Glasgow and Edinburgh.
But you had the same ambitions when you left that you had when you arrived.
Absolutely.
You didn't discover your tribe or discover your calling or anything like that.
No, I discovered that I needed to go to London as soon as possible.
I'm surprised you didn't go to college there. I'm surprised you didn't apply to London University.
I went to the only university that would have me.
Okay, because of the Masterchef,
because of absolutely because of that, and because of rave, I think, really, as well. Yeah. I think that, if I'm being very honest,
consideration in that era.
I mean, look, I was 18 in 1991, 92. So
it's a very big.
I spent a lot of time in Manchester having fun.
So we're probably in the same clubs at the same time, although I was climbing over the wall of my boarding school to get there a few years previously. So I mean, the Cosmo stuff is important. This is what I mean about banging on doors and knocking your way in. You get you win a student panel contest at Cosmopolitan, so you're just gaining entry into this beautiful world.
Yeah.
But the food. So because all of the potential role models that you've mentioned, none of them have a particular reputation in food journalism. So And your background, as we've established, didn't lend itself to having friends whose fathers hand
dived
for
their own scallops.
For scallops. For me, until I moved to London, a scallop was from the chip shop. It was the big
it's just potato
slice.
Just
I used
potato.
to love a scallop.
Yeah, I would argue.
Would you like a scallop? Oh, well, are you sure you serve scallops?
Yeah.
So when did your taste buds start tingling? When did you start thinking, oh my goodness, this is my thing?
Well, I'd been. I arrived in London and I worked for women's magazines, and through that, as you'll well know because you've worked in journalism, there's a lot more free things. Invites to launches, invites and launches for a perfume, but it's going to be at a fancy hotel.
Yeah.
Invitations to go away for a weekend to this hotel, courtesy of a PR company or whatever.
Yeah.
So my life did begin to get bigger and more generous with the kind of food I was being offered. I've got to say though, I knew that I could do it, and I knew that I could write about Chinatown and Koreatown and these places, these fancy restaurants. I knew I could do this, but the person that really made me want to do it was Michael Winner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He had his Sunday Times column.
Yeah, Sunday Times.
And was he the first?
Winner's Dinners.
It would be a third of it would be about something that had nothing to do with the meal before he got stuck into what the meal was actually.
I mean, looking back.
Yeah.
Looking back, it was nothing that I ever recreated, really. I mean, maybe I have, maybe on a particularly difficult day, 75% of my column might be about me talking about who's in the restaurant. But look, back then, I think that I respected him because he was appointment.
He was
reading.
Yeah, he was.
And that's what I've always wanted to achieve. Like, I didn't go to any of the restaurants Michael Winner.
But you wanted to read. I saw. Yeah. Same.
No, I've always wanted to write that column, and I mean this with what I do, sincerely with what I do now every Saturday. You may never be going to go to that or where Michael went, but you go, you kind of think, pick up the paper and go,
turn to it first.
What's Grace been up to?
Yeah.
And it was like that with Michael's. I mean, look, Michael caused massive umbrage right across London.
He was a very interesting man.
Yes.
When he was booked to appear on LBC, you couldn't keep him on hold. You couldn't. You had to ring him, and he'd pick up the phone, and you had to put him straight on air. Everyone else, even prime ministers, know that they might have to wait for the adverts to finish or the news put. But he would just hang straight back up again if he wasn't put. He was a fact. But I can remember elements of that column. Is it the only bit? It may have changed now, but is it the only bit of critical journalism, being a critic, where you can fly blind, where you can go off on glorious tangents? So if you're reading a theatre review, you don't really want to be reading about the theatre critic's weekend.
God,
or the journey to the theatre.
That is a really good question. I think that music journalism back in its day used to have like
Tony Parsons,
rock stars, kind of rock stars in their own right as journalists who would talk about their way there and how it went and the friendship and everything. But I do think that perhaps I do have a unique job in that I can start by analysing the name of the restaurant, go into a little bit about the Genesis story, and then talk about the history of Italian food and
But you haven't. So I get that. That's what attracted you to it as a journalist, as a writer, and it ticked all your boxes in a way that you couldn't really have predicted or known before it happened. But what about the actual passion for food? Where did that come from? Presuming there is one.
There absolutely is.
I know there is.
There absolutely is a passion for food. I think that I started to eat out in fancy London restaurants.
And something happened to you. Yeah. Okay.
I think that was it the fact that it wasn't the fact that the food was fabulous, although obviously, when you're sitting in the Connaught, when you're from Carlisle and you're suddenly sitting in the Connaught or Claridge's or one of those top 50 restaurants. Yes, the food is fabulous. But I think back then, in the 90s especially, I was much more clouded by when the food wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I was angry on behalf of the people who were being sold this idea by the machine. And I think I started going, why are people coming in here and paying £24 for this ropey old tagine? I know that there's an amazing one being sold in wood green. Why are we doing this in Piccadilly? And I think with that, I really wanted to have my voice heard. But God, look, my passion for food. Food is the biggest love of my life, and food is my greatest enemy. I just feel like I was just about to walk in here and I was like eating a tiny yogurt because I'm always clawing back calories, trying to go, nobody wants to hear this, but I'm always like, okay, so if I just eat very lightly, then I can have 6 courses at 6 o'clock when I go somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's the greatest love of my life, but, desperately always trying to rein it in.
And communicating that love is what has made you who you are today, really. I mean, on paper and on screen, and
I don't think there's any greater pleasure in life than a loaf of really, really amazing fresh bread and a pat of salted, good quality French butter and a pot of jam that somebody just going, have you tried my fig jam from my award-winning figs? And to me, those simple things, there's nothing better than that. Clubbing isn't better than that. Being in love isn't better than that. Being rich isn't better than that.
That moment.
There is nothing better than that. Is there
moment.
anything better than...
There's just two types of people, I think. Because Jamie Oliver always tells the story of feeding some friends of his from school who were from the travelling community, and he just wanted them to taste a bit of smoked salmon from his dad's pub with lemon squeezed on it.
Yeah.
That was it, just brown bread and butter. And when he tells the story, you can see the 10-year-old he was at the time. He just wanted his mates to get that taste and to get that flavour. And I guess that he'd be where you are. He'd be saying there's nothing better than that. Those moments of absolute mouth magic.
My brother, I'm very, very close to, he won't eat smoked salmon.
No.
He won't. They don't want, like, he would say raw fish.
Yeah.
I don't, or a beef tartare where it's literally the raw beef. Now these things are delicious, but I think that I'm from a place where everything would be thought of as more delicious if it had 5 minutes on each side.
So I mean, I don't want to gloss over the journalism you did before you became a food journalist. The world of Lather in The Guardian was, for me, an appointment to read, even when I wasn't watching the programme.
Oh, you are so sweet. I didn't think you remembered that.
Well, I think a lot of people will do. And you did an awful lot of different things. We haven't talked about your young adult fiction either. It's a girl thing, and the various, Les Bambinos, Dangerosos.
Do you know something? I came into, we're filming this in the Global Studios, and I came in here last year, and there was this gorgeous, beautiful, fully grown woman on reception, and she checked me in and she said, "Are you Grace Dent? I used to read your books when I was a little girl." And I just was like, "Oh my God." So that's how long ago it was.
Right, but the win.
I did. Yes, I was very happy, but it was very sobering moment, James, because I wrote a lot of teen fiction. Bloody hell! I mean, it did really
Queen
well
of Teen, no less. Shortlist.
The Queen of Teen.
Queen of Teen. But what I'm pushing you towards is the difference between writing and talking about food and doing all the other media jobs that you've done. There's a distinction between the two.
I think that all the other media jobs that I ever did were people recognising that I could do something and offering me jobs, and me never being in a position as somebody from my background that was just going to slot into this position of greatness. I think that when somebody offered me something, do you want to Do you want to do you want a column at the Guardian? Yeah. Oh, it's about soap operas. All right, okay, I'll do it. I know I can do it.
Okay.
I can flex my
So this is
word skill.
journeyman type. This is I
Yeah.
can turn my hand to anything because
Yeah.
I've got the tools to do.
I can just do
I
it.
can give you good copy, whatever the subject
I
is.
think that all anybody who is still here in media
Still here.
at our age, and I mean it, still here. I think anyone that's still here,
Don't jinx anything.
darling, I think that if you look at any of our CVs, it is pivot.
Yeah.
We're just pivoting from one thing to the next. You have to move. I would love to be able to sit here and go, well, when I was reading Michael Winner's column, I went to people and said, I'd love to be a restaurant critic. And they said, Grace, well, when a position comes up, you're going to get it. Just you wait here. God, that was never going to happen. When I looked around back in the 90s and the noughties, when you looked around who was the restaurant critics, there was certainly nobody that was like me. I didn't think that I had a chance in hell. It was a sheer fluke that I got that first column.
Standard.
And when they offered me it to just fill in, I didn't get offered the job. None of us ever get offered the job, do we?
No.
You get when you get your
Not immediately.
No.
You might do enough for them then to say, "Oh, well, I suppose
Yeah.
we should formalise this."
But I'm sure the
arrangement.
same as me, when you get offered to fill in for something that you really want, you think they will take that out of my cold, dead hands, right?
Tell me about it.
And and I think I was like that with a restaurant column.
The segue into broadcasting, it felt quite organic and natural for you. You're writing about stuff, and then someone phones up and says, "Do you want to come and talk about it?"
Oh, I mean, I think I started popping up on television in the mid-noughties when there was an enormous glut of those television programs that said, I remember the 90s. I remember children's TV programs.
Pay
I
cash
remember,
sometimes.
the money was, and also you got your face on television.
Yeah.
And when you went onto television, if you could do it, if you could speak, because hundreds of journalists
Can't
go
do
and
it.
do it and they can't do
This
it.
is true.
And
your
I
witty,
could,
incisive takes would lend
I
themselves
could
to
do it. My sideways swipes and acerbic looks. And I went on, and I was awful, I suppose, for the first few times, and then I got better, and I started to present on the Culture Show on BBC Two, and get my own spin-off shows here and there, and interview shows on Sky, and blah 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 blah, and became just much more confident on television. Started appearing on all kinds of things. I've been on telly for a long time. I love telly. I love being on telly. Telly's important to me.
Yes, it's nice to say that
I
instead of just
love
thinking it's
it.
all
I
a
love
bit of a gas.
Yeah.
And Masterchef is, in a sense, the perfect slot.
Look, I've been on Masterchef since 2013 as a kind of, a turn.
A turn. I've got 10 minutes.
Going in. Yeah. Try the veal. I have been watching Masterchef since I was a little girl, when it had Lloyd Grossman.
God, yeah.
And I used to sit on the sofa with my dad, and the restaurant critics would walk in, and we would laugh our socks off at restaurant critics coming in and going, "Well, this is the worst foie gras in the world," and
true.
we would just be laughing, going, "Look at this
It was like
person."
something out of Little Britain, wasn't it? Or League of Gentlemen. They were so parodic. Is that a word?
And I mean, the whole thing, everything about MasterChef, as a little girl sitting with my family, like people suddenly going, I've got ballotine of lamb and a reduced pork reduction and a fondant potato, and all of these things. We know we didn't have them in Carlisle, and the show is this incredible roller coaster that makes people happy all over Britain. Like the joy this show brings to people. London, people are cool in London.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
don't give you the time of day about it in London. No one cares. But when you go to Bridlington, people will appear out of shops. Everyone's like, Masterchef gives them joy. So to turn up and be presenting the new series is, I mean, the thing that it's very not upsetting. It's jarring to me that this has happened in 2025 and my parents have gone.
I'm sorry.
You know,
Yeah, of course.
because it was a MasterChef. To present MasterChef is the first job that I would have had that they fully understood. My mother would have bored people to tears. This would be because, growing up, my parents didn't really. My parents were just worried for me, so to be doing this at this point is amazing. I'm dead happy.
And it's opened up all sorts of avenues for you as well. It gives you that extra level of recognition and also, I mean, we should talk about the world's first edible bank card.
We really should.
Which is part of how we've been able to tempt you into the studio.
You lured me in.
Long overdue, but
literally it's the bank account is called Biscuit. For Zopa, it's a current account. But I am just thinking that it is like you led a load of biscuit crumbs into the studio because I've been. I don't really give interviews.
No, I know. I noticed that.
I don't.
That's why we grabbed the opportunity when we could.
I don't really
why
give
not?
I just think that I'm at this stage in my life. I don't think you can put a price on sitting in your own house with no makeup on, surrounded by your pets. I've been to enough. I mean, look, that's me being flippant. I've been working with that bank because it's a bank that I actually have a couple of accounts with anyway. It took me till when I was in my I'm going to call myself middle age to get my finances together. Money's important to me. There's this idea that so many people are still with the same bank that they were with when they were at uni. We're the first one that they ever opened.
The wall chart and the little money box. Is it actually edible though?
Well,
or is this me not understanding the witty film?
Yes, I think it's far beyond your intellect. No, we did make an edible bank account. I think that if you look at the advert, an edible bank card, I think if you look at the advert, I am looking resplendent with huge hair in that advert, paying for dinner with the card.
With an edible bank card.
But I would advise you that if you do open this account, do not try to eat the card. I can't be responsible for when James is not available to make to care so deeply on radio.
I like some of the lines that appear in the notes I have for encounters like this, and I'll lead you with this. Now in her early 50s, Dent stands.
How dare you?
37. Yes, of course. 37. As a multifaceted figure in British media, she is at once a columnist, a critic, a broadcaster, a podcaster, an author, and as of 2025, a primetime TV host.
Oh God,
That'll do.
Sorry, that makes me.
You got on that train. You broke that cloche.
That.
Do you have?
That makes me feel a little bit emotional when you said that.
Well, You've won.
Hang on, no, I'm going to get rid of those emotions.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I have the.
Final question. Do you have any formal ambitions left? Is there anything left that you'd still like to do? Something you haven't done?
I would like to. I'd like to pass my driving test.
That's not what I mean.
I would like to, because apparently I can drive, but apparently not to the standard that the DVLA or whoever they are say. Details, exactly.
But there's no professional milestones that you're yet to pass, or are there?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Absolutely.
What?
I don't know. Bigger? I'm not telling you. Look at your face. Bigger, better, brighter. more. Do you know something? If I'm completely honest, I want to carry on. I want to do more amazing television around food. I want to carry on and be as happy and carry on for another 30 years. When I look at, I don't know how old Prue is. I don't know. I mean, Prue and Mary. I mean, they go on forever and they work really hard. Like Prue and Mary, long filming days, still with presence and still absolutely hammering it. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I'd quite like to have a kind of an estate big enough that and this is like, I'm talking about like a house.
Yeah.
I'd like an estate big enough that my raggle-taggle family can retreat into there and just kind of grow old until we peter off. That would make me happy. I've got like brothers and sister-in-laws and nieces, and I love, I think the thing that people don't know about me, although they maybe do a bit more now, is that I rescue animals. So although when people see me, I've kind of like often got a dress and big hair and 2 inches of makeup on, I am at my absolute happiest in a boiler suit on my front underneath a car with like whiskers on one hand, like the food, like trying to like lure out kittens. So that's what I do. And that, I'd like to have like a little kind of animal sanctuary. Has that gone in a tangent that you
No, I think
didn't?
that's lovely.
That's what I want.
It's more interesting than the driving test.
It's like, I'll ask you, because you are one of those people that I value your opinion. Do you think I'm too old to do it now?
No, definitely not.
Do you think that after so many times that they've told me that I shouldn't do it, and I failed it, do you think it's God telling me that, like...
How many times have you found it?
5 that I remember.
Oh, that's all right. No, I could put you in touch with a bloke in Islington. He got me. I was old. My wife was pregnant when I passed my driving test on the perfectly reasonable grounds that she wasn't going to drive herself to the labour ward. So I was 32. I was quite old.
Oh,
so it's doable. So you need an intensive course. You need to set aside a fortnight, do it every day for a fortnight, and you'll be fine. Although you are the first and last person who's ever asked me for advice about driving. And on that bombshell.
Oh, this has been a delight. Thank you for having me on.
Grace Dent, thank you.